had no experience on the manufacturing side, the distribution side. I had no experience running a business, really. Everything about starting El Mago Cigars was a shot in the dark. Tobacco prices have gone up a lot. Oh, everyone's raising their prices and stuff. So I think the future is very bright for the cigar industry. People who were hospitalized from COVID, this is one example. So they gave them nicotine pouches, and 100% of the people who got nicotine pouches went home within 5 days.
Welcome back to another episode of the Beyond the Wealth podcast. We are back to our in-person episodes, which is extremely exciting. But even more exciting is I have my first three-peat guest here, Nick Fusco. I'm sure you guys remember him. Best performing episode. Lifelong best friend, probably the most unique business that I've gotten the chance to interview. It's not your typical info guy, it's not your online guy. He's building a cigar company from the ground up. One of probably the hardest businesses to get started, let alone at a young age, due to the fact that the majority of the people in the industry are a lot older. You've been doing it now 3 years, I think, or we're going on like 4 years.
We're actually going on 3 in terms of sales,
but 4 years since inception.
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
And for you guys that have maybe seen our previous episode, I've gotten the chance to interview Nick every single year that he's been company that's been selling, which is really cool. First episode we did, you had 3 cigars.
3 blends.
Second episode, you had 8 blends. Now we're up to 10 blends.
Up to 10, and 11 is coming in April.
And 11's coming in April.
Yep.
So this is another fun episode. Like you guys remember from the last one, we were smoking and drinking. I don't do this on any other podcast, but I do think that this is a special moment. We do have a pretty cool backdrop that you could see. All of Nick's cigars are lined up behind us. What he's best known for in the industry is his loud packaging. Bright, exciting, not like any of the other brands that are black, brown, or red. And I think it's his main selling point. I think it's one of the reasons why his brand has blown up, and the story, which we'll go into again for anybody that's new here. But let's start with a little light and a cheers.
Let's do it. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it.
Of course.
And
do a little cheers.
Brought out some tequila for my buddy because this is his favorite thing to drink in the world.
I hate tequila.
Cheers.
Oh, wow. It's the same as it is every time. Not that good.
So good.
But talk to him a little bit about, last episode we were smoking the same cigar. This one we're smoking different cigars. I've got the Miami Maduro.
I got the Pepe.
Yep. And give him a little bit of background on the brand while we kind of light these up.
So what we're smoking, both cigars are same wrapper, Mexican San Andres wrapper. Difference with binder in that one is a Sumatra. This is a broadleaf, and filler is both from Nicaragua. Which is where our factory is. Shout out MGE Cigar Factory. We've got Esteli, Ligero, Viso, Seco from Jalapa, all our own that we've grown. And to give you a background on the brand itself.
I'll take that while you're doing that because that
one's not working?
Nope.
So the boxes in the background, the packaging is all inspired by my grandparents. To make a long story short, unfortunately my grandparents passed away in the Surfside collapse in Miami Beach, or in Surfside in Miami. And after their collapse, I wanted to create something to honor and commemorate their legacy. And I chose cigars because my grandfather was from Cuba and introduced me to cigars when I was 16 years old. And so I came out with El Mago Cigars. And now El Mago in English means wizard or magician. That's the translation. I chose that name for the first 2 letters of my grandparents' names. So M-A is for Maria, G-O is for Gonzalo. And I don't know if it's zoomed in enough, but if you can see, there's a picture of my grandparents on the box. Yeah, maybe you could show it. And so behind them is the James Hotel, which is a hotel that my grandfather bought in 1989 in Miami Beach, which is my inspiration for all these colors, because it was really my grandparents that kind of decorated this hotel and made it into what it was from a blank canvas. And then also sharing their story. You want to show the bottom of the box?
Yeah.
So the bottom of the box shows their journey here. Oh, flip it.
Oh,
there you go. Their journey here, which takes them from Cuba to Czechoslovakia to Canada to Venezuela to Miami.
And it's all their passport stamps,
and that's
right?
that's all their passport stamps there. That's the reason why El Mago exists, and that's why I'm so passionate about it. And it's been very rewarding. Like you mentioned, our last episode, I still to this day, it's been almost a year since we filmed. I still have people reaching out, like probably once a week. I have like a couple people at least reaching out because they found out about the brand from the podcast. So it's been awesome.
Dude, it was a pleasure of mine because obviously I've been supporting you since you started this. I thought it was a really cool experience. Like I mentioned on the last episode, Nick and I have been best friends since we were 5 years old. I've had the chance to know the Fusco family, had the chance to spend a ton of time with his grandparents, like amazing people. And I think when you go through brands and like why they're successful, the ones that are successful typically have a good story behind them, a real meaning behind the brand. And this is one of, I think, the cooler stories that you're going to find on the internet when it comes to something that happened, obviously tragic in this case, and you turned it into something really positive. I remember when Nick wanted to make this idea, he did a prototype of it and gave it to his mom for Christmas. And if you guys could see the video and like the reaction from his mom, like it was just a done deal. Like Nick was chips on the table, had to build the brand. There was no choice after that. And to see like where it is today. Hey, what's up guys? Wanted to take a quick second from the episode you're currently watching to let you know about my company, Stogies and Steels. You're obviously watching the interview with Nick Fusco, the founder of Mago Cigars and my childhood best friend. I've gotten the chance to watch him grow a very successful business in the cigar space, and it has made me understand all of the amazing aspects and features of this industry. I wanted to get my own little piece of the pie, so I launched Stogies and Steels, a free weekly cigar newsletter. If you're interested in learning more about cigars, finding out about new releases, finding deals online for great cigars at great prices, this is a weekly newsletter that gets sent to you from us every week, and it is 100% free to subscribe. If this is something you're interested in, the link is in the description below, and it's also the pinned comment. I'd love to see you in there. Our last episode we filmed in his office when he closed on this place last year. It was just a white building, nothing in here yet. We were sitting in one of the offices.
There was still carpet, right? On
the floor? The whole bottom, all the floorboards were broken. And now we're sitting here in the humidor that you've built. And it's funny, you're almost outgrowing the space already, a year into it, which my dad always told him, like, hey, I think your place is too small. You're going to outgrow it.
Fred warned me.
Yeah.
Fred warned me. He was right.
And I think it just has to do like with the brand and everything, everybody, how they've got behind it. And there's probably not any other mid-20s founder in the cigar industry right now. And if there is, they're probably not doing the numbers that you're doing either. Like, I think we talked off camera here. You're in like 46 states now. You're in a few countries. You've got 12 sales reps running around. You got invited to PCA, the biggest event last year, and had an amazing event. You doubled the size of the booth for this year, and we can talk about that because I know you're super excited about how much money you've spent on the event. But I do want to just kind of start in the early phases of like, you built this brand, you decided that you were going to go all in on cigars. What were some of the challenges you faced up front that you had to kind of navigate through to even get to where we are today?
Well, I think the biggest factor starting off was, in any industry that you start off with a new brand, obviously that in and of itself is a challenge, but being so young in an industry where probably the majority of, whether it's retailers, manufacturers, distributors, brokers, whatever it may be, they're probably in their 40s to 60s, and some are still going and working in their 70s and 80s. You know, that difference in age was a big challenge, and earning respect in the industry, that was probably one of the bigger challenges for me. Got to go in there with confidence in your product. Got to go in there knowing that people have been around, been in the game for 30, 40 years, and they're looking at you like, you're 23 years old. Like, what are you doing here? You know, and it was my job to prove to them that I at least somewhat, I belong here, and I confident in my product. I know what I'm selling. I know what I'm doing. And I think the other challenge was starting off in Miami. So being in South Florida, it's like Florida's the hub. Florida's the hub for cigars, you know. So people really know a lot of information regarding tobacco in and of itself, and have relationships with a lot of people in the industry. So convincing them that you belong is tough. And I think being able to do that fairly well, I'll say, at least, was a big factor in this brand taking off and kind of growing and being able to make it in this industry as a whole, and in other markets as well. Because like I've told you before, like South Florida is considered the hardest market
Yeah.
in the whole United States in terms of cigars. So that was a big thing for us to break into. And then I guess really the other challenging part was just how much I had to learn. Right, I love cigars, smoke cigars. I was a consumer, but I had no experience on the manufacturing side, the distribution side. I had no experience running a business, really. This is my first business that I opened. So
Don't discount the 6 months of our Market Movers Discord server.
6 months of Market Movers. Yes. Best stock picks on the planet.
Oh my God. Just the crap we did to make money back then.
But yeah, those were the challenges, and I guess kind of being able to overcome that hurdle propelled the company into another realm, I'll call it, where I had other people that are more what I would consider like veterans in the industry that started to believe in me and believe in my brand, and that kind of just foot on the gas, like that accelerated things pretty quickly.
And one of the things that you mentioned there at the end, like having to learn all this, one of people's favorite parts of last episode, one of the things that people are the most interested in is how do you even start a cigar brand? Like, this is an industry where like the regular person doesn't even understand that it's a possibility. You went from I love cigars to I have a massive cigar brand in 2 years. Take people through what it takes to actually start a cigar brand from the ground up.
Okay, so there's several things I need to name, but number one, I'll start off. You need to have access to a reputable factory. And that's one of the things I was saying, where I still get messages from people who saw our last video. A lot of them are asking me, hey, can you help me start a cigar brand? You know, like what do I do?
Yeah.
And so that's where you need to know a factory. So that's step one, because you need a place to source good tobacco, which it's challenging because you can go to a bigger factory and they have good tobacco, or at least most likely they have good tobacco, but they're probably not going to be as willing to be flexible with you as a new guy, right? They're going to want a minimum order of 10,000 cigars, payment up front. You'll get the cigars in 3 months probably. Like things like that make it challenging to enter. And then also, like, they probably don't want to work with you as much to make your blend the way you really want it. They're like, we have this on hand, like this is what you're gonna get, you know, because it is a hassle for a lot of like the big factories pushing out massive production to set people aside to make something special for you, and the quantity's not that big for them. So that's a big challenge, and I was lucky to find MGE Cigar Factory. Shout out Miguel Pinto.
Shout out Miguel.
Miguel was willing to work with me and like kind of like take me by the hand, show me how to make the blends, how the whole process is done. Take me to the fields, because Miguel, I believe there's over 16 and a half acres that he's got. So he showed me everything from fields to the barns to the pilons, to deveining the wrappers, which you could imagine what that is. Take the vein out of the leaf, to boncheros, which is bunching, to then molding of the cigars. Like, we went into the ammonia room, the aging room, which the ammonia room is very impressive. You cannot breathe in there. It's great. You actually can't, like, it's tough. And there's people that work in there for hours and hours and hours.
Can't be that healthy.
Yeah, I don't know the science behind it. Like, I don't know what ammonia, like, I'm not sure, but they handle like champs. So factory's big, number one, and that's why, like, the way that Miguel helped me, I'm always looking to help people that reach out in the same way and kind of give them the same attention that he gave me. Because without that, like, you're nowhere. You're like in quicksand. And then number two is sourcing the packaging, so you can have a brand, right? You gotta have branding. That's another challenge, and it's all a volume game, so all the buying has to be fairly big quantities. And then the third thing, which is the hardest, is the distribution. You gotta get distribution yourself to start off with, because I mean, unless you have, and there's people that have done it that I don't want to mention, but unless you have a ton of money and just throw it at people and say, hey, sell my brand, you got to go out and do it yourself. build a base, so then other people start seeing your product everywhere, believing in you, wanting to sell it. So you got those steps in the way, and then somewhere along the way, when it starts growing, you realize, oh shit, I have to spend $6,000 on cardboard boxes to ship stuff out. I have to spend $1,000 on tape. I have to spend $3,000 on stickers. Like, you know,
Shit starts to add
you
up.
learn that in business. You should always expect and prepare for the worst in terms of the cost you're going to be spending, because there's many hidden costs, and it's not and business in general is not as like clear cut as probably the initial idea was. So always a learning curve, and that's what it is. But really, if I had to like big three: factory, packaging, distribution. That's what you need just to get something off the ground and give it a chance to live.
And with your packaging, obviously you went completely against the grain. Like, and when you do that, you take a risk. People are either going to love it or they're going to fucking hate it. Obviously, people really loved it. If not, we wouldn't be sitting here with all these boxes around us. What were some of the initial reactions you brought? Because every box in a humidor, and you and I, when you were building the brand, we would walk into tons of humidors, and I didn't know anything about cigars, so all I would do was walk around and see what caught my eye, like what was interesting. Everything was red, black, brown, maybe a few blues here and there, but wooden boxes, like nothing crazy. Then you show up with blue, pink, yellow, orange. Like, what were some of the owners of these shops' reactions? What was the industry's reaction to these colors?
I definitely got a lot of holy shits when I walked in with this packaging, but it was like there was a few reactions where people were like kind of like, I get it. They're like, this here, you need a lighter?
Yeah.
They're like, you know, this could work, because from a store owner's perspective, they're always, you know, they have to look at their best interests, like what will sell, right? Because when they buy something, they've got to move it. They've got to make sure it sells. And I think a lot of accounts that I visited, they were, you know, I'd like to think that, like, for me, the story is the most important part of my brand, and it's what I care about the most. But from a store owner's perspective, you know, the story in some cases took a little bit of a backseat, which fine, you know, like they got to pay their bills, and they basically saw the packaging. They saw the story as like a selling point, and they saw the packaging as like probably the biggest selling point. And a lot of people, their feedback was, we don't have to actually like try to sell your product, because the customers will find it.
Mm-hmm.
They'll go out and find it, and they'll try it. And then I gave, you know, cigar lounge owners some product to try, and they, when they thought it was good, they brought the product on, because they were like, yeah, the customers will come back and buy it again and again. And that's, you know, pretty much what ended up happening. And so my inspiration for the colors again was the James Hotel, my grandfather's hotel, but also spending a lot of time in cigar lounges. I saw that, you know, the cabinets were just wood color, you know, usually cedar, and then you have boxes that are also cedar, same color. Things kind of blend.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do something cool and exciting. And the inspiration for the tubes was also my grandfather. He always like, when he smoked a cigar at the hotel, which he would do all the time, if he had to put it out, he would put it out, cut it, put it in a tube, put it away. And that's why I came out with tubes. It's a big added expense, but to me, it's well worth it, to, you know, truly make the, you know, the tribute to my grandparents like real and authentic.
Yeah. I remember when we were like talking about it early on, like tubes, not everybody put everything in tubes. It was only like the expensive cigars, or like what people thought were the luxury ones. And you kind of said, F it. Like, I'm going to put all my cigars in tubes.
Yep.
And the tubes are like collector's items. Like, people keep them, people put them like on their shelves and stuff. And I think it just looks badass in the box too. But yeah, it's crazy. And I remember we talked about it early on, where it's like, all right, like, people are going to like the color. It's going to be cool. Like, it's going to come down to if people actually like the cigar, because you're competing with It's just like alcohol. Like when I buy vodka, I like Tito's. I think it's a cool brand. So I just buy Tito's when I walk into a store.
Dude, speaking of alcohol, where's your drink?
Oh, my bad. Cheers.
Thank you. This guy.
It's rude to cheers and not take a sip. But yeah, like you had to go in and win the customers over, because the customer that comes in probably buys 5 different sticks and that's it. So when did you kind of start to realize like, oh shit, like people really actually start to like the brand? Was that when stores started to reorder like way more because people started to put your sticks in their regular rotation?
Yeah, to be completely honest, everything about starting Mago Cigars was a shot in the dark. I was boots on the ground, going into cigar lounges, telling the story, explaining, where our factory is, our processes, what tobacco's inside the cigar. And then ultimately, like, it's a matter of like, there's almost a sense of confidence, but also like a little bit of arrogance where like, try it.
Yeah.
That's it. Just
You're
try
betting
it.
on the product.
Yes. And we created a phenomenal products in general, and got the initial sale, great. I was ecstatic. And I started seeing that, and I initially started only with the box behind you. So I had one blend out, one blend only. So I was seeing that almost every account I went into, they don't want to take a big chance on you at first, right? So they'll buy 2 boxes, right? Maybe 4 if it's a good day, they'll buy 4. So they would buy 2, and by the end of the week, I was getting a call like, "Hey, yeah, it's working. We need more, but I'm doing this for you as a favor." I got that a lot. I got that. "We're doing this for you as a favor," and I said, "Okay, well, I appreciate the favor." And then reorder again and again and again, and now we're talking about 4 to 6 reorders within 2 months or 2.5 months, and by the time the 3rd month comes around, the tone has changed. It's not, "Hey, we're doing you a favor." It's, "Hey, thank you. You created a great product, packaging that I don't need to do much to sell it, but I want to tell your story anyway. And this has been the easiest sale that has come through my door." And so that's kind of how the tone ended up being set after a few months of struggling, I'll call it. And that's kind of been the tone since then. And so, I feel like I got very, very, very lucky, because I feel like I have, the spirit of my grandparents within me and in this brand. And it gave me the strength to like really push through the tough parts of starting it. And then on top of that, again, big shout out to Miguel, who mentored me through all of this and made me some badass blends, like showed me some blending secrets, I'll call it, on how to create a great blend. And that's what we have in our cigars today. So just good juju all around, I'll call it.
Yeah. And another thing that people really liked from the last episode that we went into a little detail was like the creation of the cigar. You mentioned it a few times. The blending of the cigar is what makes a cigar. Obviously, the packaging's cool, it looks cool, but if it tastes like shit, people aren't going to keep smoking it. Right. So talk a little bit about like what it actually looks like to blend a cigar. You were just in Nicaragua. You got the chance to sit there, and I know you got the chance to blend a few new cigars while you were over there. Like, what does that process look like to the person that doesn't know a ton about cigars?
So in any given blend in a cigar, you have 3 components. You have the wrapper, the binder, the filler. The wrapper is the part you can see. The binder's on the inner layer of the wrapper, and then the filler is what's in the middle. And so just like in wine, where you have grapes that are, grown or different strands of, I don't know if you call it strands, but let's call it strands of grapes, grown in different altitudes, different climates, aged a different amount of time. It's the same thing with tobacco leaves. So you got a tobacco plant, probably you're looking at a 5 to 6 foot plant when it's fully grown and ready to be cut. And the different leaves on the plant, from bottom to top to bottom, however you want to look at it, have different functions and different flavors. And obviously we're talking about all natural flavors here, right? So you get a wrapper, you get a binder, and you get an assortment of fillers. And so like if I'm talking about this cigar here, our wrapper is from Mexico. It's a Mexican San Andres wrapper. So that is one component of the cigar. The binder is a U.S. broadleaf. That's another component. And then the filler is an assortment of tobaccos from Nicaragua. In Nicaragua, you have like the big four, I'll call it, cities where tobacco is grown. You have Esteli, Condega, Jalapa, and Ometepe. So in this cigar, we have filler from Esteli, Condega, and Jalapa. And then in some of our blends, we top it off with a little bit of Dominican tobacco as well. And basically, that's what a blend is. A blend is the assortment of all that, and it's based on, it's on a percentage basis. So what percent of the total weight of the cigar are you going to put this type of tobacco, and this one, and this one? And yeah, so that's how a blend is created. And like the last time I went, we for our new blend called the Jaguar, we created.
Also, why are you calling it the Jaguar?
I'm calling it the Jaguar because my grandmother Maria, I remember like being little, getting picked up from school by her on the, the instances where my parents were busy or something like that, or when she would just drive us around, go to the beach on the weekend or something. She drove a black old school Jaguar. Yep. And so that's a honor and a tribute to her. But yeah, we made 3 different blends. Wrapper and binder were the same because we were looking for something specific in terms of the wrapper and binder. And then we just changed the filler. Sometimes we changed the mix of the filler completely. And in another instance, we changed the percentages of the fillers. So an example of that is like having a higher percentage of ligero in a filler of a cigar, or a higher percentage of viso, or vice versa, lower percentage. And they all have like their functions and their tastes, and it's all unique, and it's something that takes a very long time to get your palate accustomed to and learn. So that's one thing that like Miguel has taken me through, and that I feel like I've been able to develop my palate well, and like I can identify what is what, not obviously not like perfectly or anything like that, but I can definitely I can make a good blend. I'll put it to you that way. I can make a good blend.
That's awesome. And then another thing that people are always really interested in is like the 3 different types of cigars. Or 3 different,
like the typical wrappers.
Yeah, like what are those variations?
Well, there's more than 3 different types of wrappers, but the main ones that you're referring to, which is what most people know, is Maduro, Habano, Connecticut. So really, like what people associate the difference in those 3 wrappers is really just the color of the wrapper. So you got a Connecticut, which is like a lighter tan color, almost like a cardboard box color. You got a Habano that's like a brown, and then you got a Maduro that's like a darker brown, could be almost like a blackish color in some cases. And I think people a lot of times like they shop with their eyes, right? And so they see those 3 different wrappers and they think like these are very, very, very different cigars in terms of their taste. And sometimes that's true, and that's like, it's tailored to be that way. So for example, people associate Maduros with being strong, but I could make a Maduro that's not strong because of the tobacco on the inside. And then people associate a Connecticut as being a light cigar, but I could make a strong Connecticut that's you're not gonna want to stand up after you smoke it because of the tobacco on the inside. So those are the 3 main ones, but there are more wrappers in that, but that's what the market generally knows. And I would say it's almost like a stereotype. Like a Maduro has to be strong, Habano is like a medium-ish, and a Connecticut is a light. And that is usually the case, but it also doesn't have to be the case.
And then obviously somebody might look here and be like, why do you have 11 different cigars, like different sizes, different strengths? Like what is the angle with having all of these different SKUs? And like the Lotus behind you is a Lancero, skinny and long. The Pepe is a box press. Like, what is the angle behind all that?
Every blend is a different smoking experience. And just like in a given week or month, you might have many different types of meals when you're eating. It could be the same thing with cigars, right? You might have a cigar for a morning cigar. You might have an afternoon cigar. You might have an evening cigar. And you might have like a late night cigar. So we want to offer a little bit of diversity in the blends where you can go from, something mild to mild plus to medium plus to full body plus, and everything in between and all that kind of stuff. And so that's why we've come out with multiple blends, is that anyone who wants to try an El Mago cigar, they can get something that they want. And we're one of the few companies actually that makes each blend. So each box you see here, we only make it in one size. There's a lot of companies that make one blend in like 7 to 9 or 5 to 9 different sizes. We stick to one size because that's really like that's the way I see it, like making sense in my head. A lot of companies, they make multiple sizes in one blend so that they have more shelf space in a humidor. It's like a tactical warfare type of thing, but we make one size, one great size, one great blend, and that's our motto. Most of our sizes are Toro. We have a Lancero here, like you mentioned, and the Lancero was something like personal that I wanted to make because that is the original size of a cigar from Cuba, right? That was the original size, was a Lancero, and it's an amazing smoking experience. A lot of people won't try it. I know a lot of like guys that I met out there, they say, oh, it's very feminine to smoke a Lancero, but I encourage you people who say that to try it because the wrapper is a key. I mean, as you can imagine, it's a key component of a cigar. And with the Lancero, you're getting majority wrapper. In the flavor you get, there's less tobacco in the middle. So it's a really nice experience. And for our Lancero, I went with the Ecuadorian Habano, which is the same wrapper as the Art Deco edition. And I think for those of you who haven't tried it or think that you won't try it, I encourage you to try it because it's an awesome smoke, and it also shows it's a little bit of a show off size because it takes a lot of skill to roll a Lancero that's constructed well, that continues burning, doesn't have any burn issues, anything like that, doesn't turn off, and I think we've done a really good job with ours. Feedback on it has been great, so that's an example of like a specialty size.
Are you guys the only Lancero in a tube right now? Or I can't imagine that there's that many people that even blend and create that cigar, let alone put it in a tube.
So we're the only, as far as I know, we're the only Lancero in a aluminum tube.
Okay.
I think I've heard of one in like a paper kind of box thing. But yeah, aluminum tube, we're the only ones, which is good because this is like the easiest cigar to damage. So you got your Lancero protected when you buy with El Mago.
Nice. I want to put you on the spot here. You've got, like we've talked about a bunch of times, 11 different blends. What are your top 3 blends and why do you like each one?
This is number 1, the Pepe. I like this one because I told you before, I don't like to go into like the flavor profile. I don't like to say, this cigar tastes like marshmallows that have been over a fire for 3.5 seconds, and it tastes like baby aardvark toenails, like all this stuff that people talk about. I don't like to talk about it like that. I enjoy this cigar because to me, it's a medium plus in strength. It's very smooth. Notes of sweetness, notes of coffee. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to say anything else. And I just really enjoy the cigar. It's got a great draw, great smoke time. I would say it's a cigar for me. That would be number 1. Number 2 would be the Miami Maduro. I would say it's a medium. It's a true medium, and again, a sweeter flavor profile, that's what I like. So to me, that's a cigar I could smoke any time of the day, every day. So Miami Maduro for sure. Number 3, I'd have to say it's the Solstice. When we created this blend, that was like the first time that I fell in love with the Sumatra wrapper. It has such a distinct flavor, the Sumatra wrapper. I honestly, I can't get over it. So that would be number 3 for me. And actually the Solstice inspired the Jaguar. So the Jaguar, sneak peek, the Jaguar is also going to be a Sumatra wrapper. So those would probably be my top 3. And there's a lot of honorable mentions in there, but for me, that's what it is.
Yeah, I think for me, my number 1 is the Miami Art Deco. That's the first one I smoked. That was obviously your first blend. I remember being in my old backyard, and you got your first like package of them in, and we're all sitting back there. You're the only one that actually like knew how to smoke cigars. Where all the rest of us were just eating shit trying the product.
Dude, I was ecstatic when you tried it because I'm the one that gets you to smoke cigars. If not, you would smoke 0 in the year.
Oh, 0.
I think I can get you to smoke like maybe maybe 10 cigars if I put a little bit of effort in a year.
Yeah, I'd
Yeah,
say
right?
10 to
Yeah.
15 is probably a fair
Yeah.
number. I think cigars are cool, like for a celebration. Also, I think my favorite thing about, because I actually love cigar lounges. I think cigar lounges are one of the coolest places to hang out. Not only have I consistently met really cool people in the lounges, I'm somebody that doesn't shut the fuck up. Like all I do is talk, talk, talk. And cigars lend themselves well to that because you could smoke a cigar for an hour and a half. And if you're with cool people, you're with good people, you can really have a really cool conversation and a cool like experience with cigars.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's probably my favorite thing. And like typically I won't like just smoke one, but if we're around cool people, if the company's good, I always
Makes you want to smoke one,
yeah,
right?
I always think it just lends itself to an amazing experience, which I think is one of my favorite parts about cigars. And just the culture that comes with it. Like, it's funny now, like, it's cool to smoke cigars, and like everybody saw Andrew Tate, and it's like Andrew Tate smokes cigars. Now I smoke cigars. But like when you actually meet like people like yourself who are in the industry, and then people like Miguel and Leo and these other individuals who have been in the industry for 30 years, like there really is a passion behind it. And one of the things that you thought was really cool, and it's probably my favorite part about the cigar industry, and you have it on your boxes, that quote of handmade to handheld. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so cigars are one of the few products that are completely handmade, right? So someone plants the seed in the ground by hand. Plant grows. They cut the leaves by hand. Hang the leaves up in the barn by hand. That's when the leaves dry out, and you essentially get the turn in the color, the change from green to brown, and literally every process in curing and aging the cigars, it's all by hand. I always say there's like no machinery involved, no technology involved in creating this, except for a scale to weigh the tobacco. And then some people use a draw master, which essentially is a machine that tests like the air flow through a cigar to make sure that you can actually like draw the smoke. But beside, like, I mean, and then there's some people that machine roll cigars, but that's pretty frowned upon, I would say, like generally speaking in the industry. So everything is done by hand. Everything. Putting this label on is even done by hand. The cellophane is done by hand. You know, like every aspect of it that I could think of is done by hand. And so that's what makes the cigar industry very unique. And also I have to mention the news that I just told you about, that it was a Peruvian, what do you call that, archaeologist discovered that tobacco, that people would consume tobacco from a tobacco plant 2.5 million years ago. So this is an ancient art form, probably, and there are a lot of like spiritual aspects to it. Whether you incorporate that in your everyday smoking or not is a different story. But it's cool to be part of that, and the fact that it like has barely changed. Really, all we have now is like I said, the scale, and then shipping it on a plane. You know. But the actual process of making it hasn't changed for many, 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 many years. It just feels cool. Like, and I think it makes me want to smoke another cigar. I'm already thinking of smoking another one after this.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, like when you explained that to me, it was like, whether I love the cigar or not, it's still cool. Like it's still interesting, and it's still something that's fun to partake in. And I wonder what that smoke sesh 2.5 million years ago looked like, and
Different.
and what
On the back of on a brontosaurus or something like that.
Oh man. One of the things that we've talked about a lot off camera is the state of the industry. Like it is older industry. We're talking about it right now. It's been something that's been around for a long time. And for the people that listen to this podcast or watch this podcast, you know I'm typically interviewing a 22-year-old that's made $1 million a month off some ridiculous tchotchke online or something crazy. And a lot of the people in this industry are very old, have been around for a while. Do you think being younger, understanding a lot of the trends, lends itself well to you and gives you a competitive advantage? And do you think it sets you up over the next 20 years to be successful when we kind of see this changing of the guard now, as older people are unfortunately, like leaving the industry and newer people are entering?
I think the cigar industry is a very, like you said earlier, it's a very hard industry to get into. And so I think it could work out to be a good thing getting in young, because it takes, like, opposite of what a lot of people you interview, where they are, let's say they're marketing geniuses, right? And they figure out how to blast some product they bought off of Alibaba out there and like make a killer return in months. The cigar industry is so opposite to that. So it takes over a year to make one of these, and it takes a long time to establish a brand, because it's a handshake, in person, hi, how are you doing type of industry. And I don't see it changing much from that in the coming 20 years, let's say. So I think being able to get my foot in the door early is good, because it's a business where it's like a commitment. It's, you care about the business and you care about the product a lot. And so like someone like me, I obviously my business was created for my grandparents, right? For their honor and legacy. And so caring about that side and caring about the product as well, it's not a get rich quick scheme, or like a, in and out type of thing. So I see the industry being that way, and anyone who tries to reinvent the wheel will probably fail. If you can, maybe someone can tweak the wheel a little bit to make it a little more efficient, could work out, like on the distribution side, maybe utilizing some technology, which is, aside from like the ordering and shipping, like there's not too much technology. It's a very, in-person sales rep, distributor, broker, that type of industry. But I don't see it changing too much, because the people that have been in this industry for a long time, they have a strong footing on this industry and on, the manufacturing side, the distribution side, and kind of like all the sides. So that's what makes it so hard to break into. Is like you could be a new company, and within a year, if things work out, you can know everyone in the industry and they'll know you, even like the guys that have been in the industry for 70 plus years. So it's like a small, big industry. And I think that's what makes it awesome, number one, but challenging for new people to get into, number two.
Yeah. I need to relight, but
you need to relight and drink your drink, bro.
Yeah. But one of the fun parts about this is, like, you and I have always been really close, especially after high school, when it's like, how are we going to make money? Like, how are we going to be successful? What businesses can we start? Now you're like a full-fledged business owner. Like, you have 12 sales reps. You've got an office that we're sitting in right now. What have been some of the things that you've learned in like actually running and operating a company? And what does it look like? What does your day-to-day as the owner of a cigar company look like?
So at the stage I'm in, I'll say that I'm the owner, and I manage a lot of the processes. And I manage a lot of the processes. So obviously, like any business owner, I want the best for my company, right? So I like to be involved. There's some, companies where maybe the owners, kind of paid his dues in a sense, and they're more on the back end of things. But I like to be very involved, because I love for people to know that I care. And I feel like if I have someone in my place to do my job at this point, they might be like, I'm like, Nick's, where's Nick?
Yeah.
And I like to be involved. And so I am very involved in the process. And right now, what I'm, mainly focusing on is I'm traveling a lot with my sales reps, doing events, doing shows, doing a select few multi-vendor events, because not only is it important to meet people, like I said, it's a in-person industry, but it's very rewarding, because like I don't have really expectations, honestly, like in general, but I'll go to an event and there'll be people there that are like Nick, like, can you sign this box of cigars, please, for me? And it happens like way more than I would expect it to happen. So it's it's very rewarding. Like people know my story better than some cigar lounge owners, and they recite it to me, and they say how cool it is that I've done this. And I mean, it's beyond flattering. So it's cool for me to be at the forefront, going, visiting different places, meeting new people. I was actually, funny enough, I was supposed to be in North Carolina.
Yeah.
But Delta's flight decided to flip over, and so they canceled my flight. They didn't want to take chances in the snow. But yeah, I was supposed to be doing an event. But that's kind of where I'm at, going around meeting people, because that's what makes this industry fun, right? That's what makes it fun. So doing that, and then also going back and forth visiting the factory a lot, because we're growing at a big rate. So everything needs to be in check over there. So everything is in check over here, so we can fill these boxes with top tier cigars.
You forgot to mention your favorite part, packing boxes. Isn't that your favorite part of why you got into this?
I step in as let's say that I'm a manager, and I like to step in as a warehouse manager too, because I like to make sure is that what you ordered? Yes, that's what you ordered. You're gonna get exactly what you want, no complaints. So yeah, I like to come into the warehouse and pack and oversee. And I don't like to think of myself as a control freak, but I want to make sure that my baby is being represented well, because anyone who's in the industry who's listening to this, whether you're an owner or a rep or a broker, if there's a little issue with an order, it's a massive headache for you. So I like to keep like quality control in every step of the way until the order arrives to the actual customer, which is the lounge. So that's very important to me as well.
I want to give the people what they probably want to hear, because a lot of the people that are probably listening or watching, because this will be out by then, are going to come look for you at PCA, see you at PCA. What can they expect from you this year? What are you doing this year that's a little bit different than next year that you can share? Because I know it's in New Orleans this year. You've grown a lot since you were there last year. So what does it look like for you this year over there?
So any of you going to PCA, you got to visit us at booth 1953. Booth 1953. Pretty sure that's what it is.
It'll be the brightest booth if it's not right.
Yes. So we doubled the size of our booth this year. I think it's more than necessary, because last year it was awesome, but it was tough because we had a lot of people visiting, and there was a lot of people that wanted to sit down. And if I had more chairs, we would have had that thing packed like a lounge. So I'm kind of trying to go for that this year, and I think that's what we'll accomplish. Funny enough, last year at PCA, I had 5 sales reps. So this year there will be 12 that will be there and bringing people left and right. So I need to take my vitamins before I go.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but it was a blast last year. I don't think I've ever been that tired before in my life after it was over. I don't sleep on planes, but I slept on the whole ride home. But no, I'm really excited for it, and I've never been to New Orleans, so looking forward to the food, looking forward to the events, meeting new people. So it'll be good, and then we'll be releasing the Jaguar, and that will only be available to a select amount of customers. Yes.
Very exciting. Yeah. You got to save me a box on the side, because I'm such an avid smoker.
Done.
One of the last things that I wanted to touch on, just because people are infatuated with it, and I also think it's good education for the people that aren't like regular smokers and just don't know as much. Obviously, it's in our heritage. We're both Cuban. Cuba has, over the last few years, changed a lot of things, and when people think of cigars, they think of like, oh, Cuban cigars. Explain a little bit of like what's kind of gone down, and now how there's been this big branch off to places like Nicaragua, places like DR, rollers and growers have moved over there, like that kind of part of the industry.
I really think it boils down to, like when you mention these countries like Nicaragua and Dominican Republic, is adopting a capitalistic kind of point of view in terms of the tobacco industry. So the unfortunate thing with the Cuban cigar market is that they're kind of just limited by the government's restrictions, whereas countries like Nicaragua, Dominican Republic, even like Ecuador and Honduras, the country really supports the industry because it's a big export of theirs. So the business conditions are favorable for the tobacco industry in all these countries, and that's why you see like the number of cigars, in net weight that they export per year. It's constantly going up because the experts on the manufacturing side are moving there because a lot of times on average, they get paid significantly more than other jobs that are offered in the country. So it's a favorable job to have. And I think also like people like being part of something that has legs, something that's a little bit, bigger and meaningful. So I think that's why you see like these other countries really taking over the industry. And I've had several phone calls with people in countries where Cuban cigars were kind of always like that was it with a period at the end of it. But now in the last probably 2-3 years, the tone is changing because supply in Cuban cigars has gone down and prices have gone up significantly, where people are like, yeah, and those Nicaraguan cigars, like, they're great and they're not as expensive. It's like, yeah, yeah. Same thing with Dominican Republic. So the tone is changing with that, and I think I don't have a crystal ball, but I think in the next 10 years there will be a massive change, unless something really positive happens for Cuba, where these other markets will take over, like the Middle East and Europe, in terms of sales and all that, because those countries have like really difficult restrictions and taxes and fees and blah, blah, blah on their cigars. So if you have a cigar that's already expensive, I mean, you're just throwing a bunch of more money on it. It's tough. It's tough. Like, I don't think you should have to pay $50 to $60 to smoke a cigar.
No.
In the country you live in. I don't think you should. And that's why the U.S. is the biggest cigar market, because if you want to, you could pay $60 for a cigar. If you want to, you could pay $200 for a cigar. But if you want to, you can pay $7 to $15 for a cigar, which is kind of where, I mean, now $7's a little low. Everyone's raising their prices and stuff. Tobacco prices have gone up a lot, but let's call it 10 to 15. That's kind of like the sweet spot. So that's much more reasonable to pay than $60. And the other thing that a lot of people don't realize is the cigar industry. It's not an industry. It is not an industry for rich people who drive Bentleys, have private jets, have an island. It's not for them. They can smoke cigars. They do smoke cigars, but it's not for them. It's for blue and white collar people. I would say the majority of it is for them. Those people are people who are very hard workers and like to end their day. Like, a lot of people like to end their day at a bar, with like a beer or something like that. These people, they end their day at a bar. It's just a different bar, right?
Yep.
There's a cigar involved. And so these people are what I would consider the backbone of the industry. And then obviously cigars are still associated with luxury because they should be, because it still takes over a year to make this. So you cover, that tier, and you have your blue and white collar people as well that are the bulk of it. And even people that are on the lower income scale of things buy affordable cigars anywhere in not any state, probably most states in the US. You could, cigars are not hard to come by, and the prices are not ridiculous. So I think we have something great going on here in the US, and I hope other countries start to kind of adopt that model, because this last year was a big year for cigars. We had a big differentiation between cigarettes and cigars, which they always group them together for some stupid reason. Like, cigars don't have 250 plus chemicals in them. They have 0 chemicals in them, and it's just a leaf. It's just a combination of leaves. So I think the future is very bright for the cigar industry. And I went off on a tangent. I totally forgot what your initial question was.
No, that was what I was looking for. Well, you mentioned the cigarette thing, and I thought I saw something funny. Like they have 250 plus chemicals in them, but the FDA is trying to ban nicotine instead of any of the other problems that they have in them. And we were talking about it like before we jumped on camera. Nicotine actually has plenty of positive benefits. And I know this is something that you're interested in.
Yeah.
So what are some of the positive benefits of nicotine, and like why is smoking a cigar not that bad?
So from what I read, and I guess I have to say, like, I'm not a doctor,
Not a doctor.
studied accounting and I sell cigars. But from everything I've read from doctors, people who were hospitalized from COVID, this is one example, they gave them, obviously they're in a hospital, so they can't smoke cigars or any type of nicotine. So they gave them nicotine pouches, and 100% of the people who got nicotine pouches went home within 5 days. And unfortunately, a lot of people that didn't have the knowledge that that was a big health benefit, like that might not have necessarily made it out of the hospital. And another big thing is we're talking about dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, neurological diseases. Basically, what scientists have said, and again, not a doctor, is that it's near impossible to get these diseases if you consistently consume a form of nicotine, because nicotine is neuroprotective. And this goes back to what I said earlier. Like, it makes sense why they found nicotine usage evidence 2.5 million years ago. Like, it's a plant. It comes from nature. There's nothing man-made added to it. It has a plethora of health benefits to it. And then to top it all off is the social aspect, right? Something bad is going on in your life. Something stressful happened to you. You had a bad day. You have a significant other who, I don't know, maybe doesn't understand you or you don't communicate well with, and you can't vent to them, something like that. Go to a cigar lounge. Go to a cigar bar. Hang out. See what happens. You'll strike up some amazing conversations and really like get a ton of stress off your chest. And that's why people go. That's why this industry will always be an in-person industry. And to top it all off, with technology on the rise like nothing we've ever seen before, a lot of people are getting more socially awkward and more like distant socially in terms of like their communication with other people. Go to a cigar lounge. Go to a cigar lounge. If you're an introvert, you may be overwhelmed from in certain places you go, but like it's a great thing for being social and not being antisocial, really. Yeah. So I think those things I mentioned are probably like the biggest benefits in the cigar industry, and that's why I think this industry will thrive.
Yeah, the social aspect is definitely like my favorite part about it. And I saw somebody made a post, Christian from Client Ascension, shout out Christian. He made a post saying that like this generation's struggling a little bit because we don't have our third place. And what that means is historically you've always had your home, the office, and then your social gatherings. We don't go to the office anymore. So there's not that third place to do things. You hang out with people more often, which is great, but it's still, anything repetitive starts to lose its edge a little bit. You're home all the time. That's not healthy. You used to go to the office, and that used to be the thing that separated you from those two things and gave you a balance. We don't have that now.
And I want to interject with one thing. Yeah. I saw a post that said, going to talk about men here for a second, that men, whether you're in a relationship or not, 3 boys' nights a week is very healthy for you, for your mood, your brain, and all that.
Yeah, don't let your wife hear that.
But I assume there's a similarity with women, because like at least here in Miami, a lot of women get together and go to a cigar lounge and like have a good time, listen to music, have a drink, smoke cigars, So like you said, the third place is very important for your mental health, for your well-being, right?
100%. I want to tie a bow on this conversation with, I've gotten the chance, one, I've grown up, I've lived my whole life with you, but we've gotten a chance to document the journey here for you unintentionally, by interviewing you every year of the business. For you now, with everything that you've built, what is the perfect's not a good way, like what is
Ideal.
the next 5 years look like for you in this business?
Within the next 5 years, I plan to come out with several other badass blends. I plan to keep doing what I've been doing and grow on that. And my goal is to be in every state, including our beloved California with their laws. And on top of that, we're already in talks with 5 different countries to go international, because I think that the international cigar market is going to boom. I really do, especially with the new introduction of Dominican tobacco, Ecuadorian, Honduran, Nicaraguan tobacco. I mean, you're talking about price points that they've never seen, or like price points that, you know, Cuban cigars were at, I don't know, 10 years ago, 8 years ago. So I think that market is going to boom, and we're going to be part of it. I just plan to keep, you know, growing the business and getting our cigars out there for people to enjoy. And you know, I see things in terms of like the laws going favorably for the cigar industry, because again, they group tobacco, they group like nicotine, and so the cigar industry is like not, there is tobacco, there is nicotine, but we're like out of that. You know, like it's so different. It's such a different dynamic. So I see another boom happening, and I see people adopting the healthiest form of smoking as their form of smoking and their form of being, you know, like a social hangout. So I'm bullish on the industry.
Bullish on the cigar industry.
Very bullish on the industry, yep.
Well, I want to make sure anybody that's still with us now and still watching, listening, wherever it is, can go and find you and connect with you. Obviously, if you're watching this on YouTube, like the last video, leave a comment. I see Nick probably 7 days a week, so, and I send him every single comment anyways. But what's a good place for people to follow you and connect with you, reach out? If anything they've heard is interesting, if they want to start a brand, like all the stuff we've talked about.
Sure. My social security number is no. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at El Mago Cigars, ELMAGO Cigars, one word. My website is elmagocigars.com. Reach out. Like I said, I'm not in the background, so I like to be involved. So a lot of people that reach out through Instagram or Facebook, or we have a chat plugin on our website. A lot of times I might be the one answering. And to top it all off, if someone is interested in starting a cigar company or needs some type of mentorship, I'm always happy to give that out. Nick at elmagocigars.com is my email. And yeah.
I love it.
Yep.
Let's do a final cheers here. I made it through. Probably didn't make as many bad faces as possible.
You did good. Oh, you smack it on the knee?
I don't know why I did that. It means nothing. But to wrap it up, thank you everybody who's still here, tuned in and watched. It's a pleasure having Nick on the show. First three-peat guest. We don't have to pay Pat Riley for that, who owns the trademark for three-peat.
Nope.
But again, thank you all for listening. That's it for this episode of Beyond the Wealth, and we will see you all on the next one.